did 7.5 years in big tech. So that was like an identity. Like I was a big tech engineer. It's the only thing my 20s was about. So leaving that identity behind and to pick up this new like creator, entrepreneur identity was a lot.
Like you're not going to quit your job, make content every single day of your life to make the same as you did as a data analyst. Because guess what? Being a data analyst is a very chill job. It's a very chill job. It's more chill than being a creator, for sure.
What were some of the factors driving those decisions? Did you have a mentor at all?
I made an unbelievable number of mistakes. So I have a mentor now who I meet with 3 times a year. His advice that he gave me back in November doubled my business. Last year, my business did 1.2 million. This year, we're going to easily do 2, probably even do 2.5 this year. My advice always is, go make 100 pieces of content. Did you hate it after the 100th piece of content? Do you think you can make another 1,000 pieces of content? And usually people will know. They'll know whether or not they can make 1,000 pieces of content. And the answer for 99% was no. That's why 1% of people are creators. Just put up the bad content. Just do it. Just post. See what happens, right? Put out what you think might work. Don't let 1 or 2 or 3 bad pieces of content interfere with your process.
It's playing a game that manifests over 5 to 10 years as opposed to trying to make all the money right now. That's the key thing to remember as you're growing. You might want that amazing, beautiful life, but you need to be doing the work behind the scenes and building the systems behind the scenes to get you there. And if you don't do that, you're not going to get there. You fall to your level of systems.
Hi, Zach. Thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. The first question I ask every guest is, on a scale of 0 to 10, since quitting your $600,000 staff data engineer role at Airbnb, how much do you regret leaving the traditional 9 to 5, 0 being the best decision of your life, and 10 is the biggest regret?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't think it's a 0 actually. I think about it because it's like one of those things that I have gone and done. I've interviewed in big tech. Like I've given like 2 interviews a year since I've quit, right? I've interviewed at OpenAI, I've interviewed at Meta, I've interviewed like actually just to test the waters to see like what would that other life look like. I haven't given any interviews this year. The last time I did an interview was in December of last year. So like I would say ultimately I'd say it's like a 2. So still like a very good decision. I think that like it's not quite cut and dry. I think sometimes on the internet I actually talk about it like I'm like a full 0, like big tech was awful. Let's freaking like, oh my God, being a creator is so much better. And it is better in a lot of ways. I do find that like there are ways that working in big tech is better though, right? It's not like completely cut and dry. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. You're still interviewing. That's such a, it's a good decision to just still see, kind of test the water. And
it's amazing content, by the way. Like when I interviewed at OpenAI, and then I just made a bunch of content about here was my experience interviewing at OpenAI to be their 3rd data engineer. Just great content too, just amazing content. Like it's very riveting content, even though it puts yourself in this like stressful situation because you're like, do I even want this job? But then you have to like show up like, that you want the job. And then so it's a very interesting kind of balance of the 2 things, but like, yeah, for sure. It's both.
I want to look back to when you left your last corporate job at Airbnb. That was March of 2024.
Yeah, 2023.
2023. Okay. So what was there a specific moment that you decided this is that I'm quitting, or was it a series of events?
Oh, okay. So in May of 2022 was when emotionally I was ready. Or emotionally that was when I was done working in big tech, because there was a I don't know if you remember, there was this phenomena back in 2022 called the Great Resignation. And so at that moment in Airbnb in May of 22, my manager quit and the director quit and half of the other staff engineers quit on my team. Like it was like the number of people that I think that we were missing like 9 headcount, of 9 leadership headcount on the team. So like the team became this like vacuum of like just a bunch of ICs running around with literally no like direction. And it was like really intense. And like then in that moment, I realized there was 2 ways to go here. I was like, 1, this is actually really probably one of the best things. If I want it to be, this is actually one of the best things to ever happen for my career, because like isn't that what everyone always talks about? They're like, oh, I want to be the manager, I want to be the leader, but there's no spots. and now there's 9 spots, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, there's like a lot of spots, right? So like I felt very, very conflicted at that moment because I was like, I was like, well, everyone else is leaving, I should leave. But then this other side of me is like, well, if I stay, like I also can see a very powerful, like really easy opportunity to like become like a director or a VP in big tech. Like it was just right there. The path was very clear. It was probably like an 18-month to 2-year path to get to where I would want to go. And so I was very conflicted. I was super depressed actually because I noticed in my own life, like my mental health, like is very correlated with the amount of clarity in my life. So the more conflicted I am, the more depressed and anxious I become. And so that was definitely like one of the lowest points in my mental health journey was at that moment because I was like, I don't know what to do. And so I spent the next like 6 months. I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to make this opportunity work at Airbnb, see what happens. And I hated it. That second half of 2022 was so bad. It was like I had so much resistance to like going down that path. And then I realized what I needed to do was I needed to surround myself by people who were doing the life that I wanted, right? Which was to be a creator because I was doing both at the same time, juggling a lot. And then in January, I did this creator house. So I lived with a bunch of YouTubers in Utah for like 2 months. And they were doing it full time. I was literally the only one there who had a job. Everyone else was doing full time YouTube. And I was like, and then I saw how they lived and I was like, I can do this. I can 1,000,000% do what they do. Like it's going to be so doable. Right. And then that was what really allowed me, it gave myself permission to like, all right, I can leave this old life behind and I can go on. Right. And then that's why in March, I was able to finally like leave after, because it's a long journey. I did like 7.5 years in big tech. So it was a long, like that was like an identity. Like I was a big tech engineer. That was like it's the only thing my 20s was about, right? And so like leaving that identity behind and to pick up this new like creator entrepreneur identity was a lot. It was a lot for sure.
Yeah. So I've lived through that as well. I know how hard it is to like let go of that identity. Did you know right away that creator is what you want to become, or did you already start like dataexpert.io at that
Yeah.
point?
So at that time I had not. So I had founded an S corp or an LLC, like S corp kind of company. I had like my S corp was Exactly Inc. just based off of my like username, right? Because I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to build, but I know I'm going to build something under like my brand. So I would imagine that. And so that's still the legal name of my company, by the way. It's like when I file, it's like I file as it files Exactly Inc. And they're like, what is your company known as? And it's Data Expert, right? And so like I actually didn't even really want Data Expert's been a very interesting thing. So when I quit, I actually had a vision for something different. It was actually a platform for creators to like make content and do cohorts and teach and all this stuff. And that was actually the vision I had in my head to like what I wanted to actually build. And then I realized I was like, but I need money. And then I just looked at like that creator platform as something that was going to take a long time to monetize. It was going to take a very long time to monetize. And so like, I was like, all right, let's like teach, might as well like, run some cohorts, teach some people. And then I had a different brand for the first year. So I was actually dataengineer.io. Actually owned both. I own dataexpert.io and dataengineer.io. Dataengineer.io is a very expensive domain, by the way. It's like 15 grand, right? And I was like, sending it, right? Let's go. And I still don't even know what to do with it now. I'm just sitting on it now. But I'm like, I'm holding on. But then I realized when I got dataengineer.io, I was like, wait a minute, that's too like exclusive. It's kind of like being like, oh, if I was like datascientist.io or like MLE.io, it's like I want it to be a little bit more blurry. That's why Data Expert's better, because then it's like, oh, like if you're an analyst or you're a scientist or an engineer, like we can put you're in the club, right? You're in the club. And that's why I did a rebranding. That was at the end of 2023 was when I did the rebranding from data engineer to Data Expert. And yeah, I didn't really have that as a vision. It was just I realized that I wanted to build this platform, which I'm still building, and it's getting there. We're actually finally getting other customers and getting other people on the platform now, which has been really great. But like, it's one of the things I love about being a creator is that you don't have to rely on like VC to raise money. So I've always thought about like when I run my boot camps and I run my cohorts, I'm just raising another round. I'm raising another round where I can, I can go get $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 from my audience, right? And then I teach them for 6 weeks, and then I can then use that money to further build my business and reinvest in the business, right? And that's like, but then I don't have to give away any equity, because equity is literally the most expensive form of funding. And so it's pretty interesting how like you can kind of like, and I've kind of used this as like, data expert as like quick cash to like raise and crowdfund, and then funneling that money into tech creator to be more tax efficient. So I don't know, that's been my journey. So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like there are a lot of pivot points even after you left Airbnb, like from creator platform to building data engineer and then data expert at IO.
Yeah.
What were some of the factors driving those decisions? Did you have a mentor at all? How did you make those decisions?
Ooh, that's a good one. I have, at least my first year, I regret not seeking out more help. I feel like I was just like, I can do it. I can figure it out. And like, I made an unbelievable number of mistakes, I feel like, because of that. And not like, in 2024 was when I was like, okay, I need to seek guidance. I need to seek guidance. And I did. And so I have a mentor now who I meet with like 3 times a year. You guys might know him. His name's Alex Hormozy. So like
he just did a book launch. I
did the book launch. So like I got in with his trading program back when it was cheap. And like, I mean, he's now he's raising prices so much, because it was like the first training I did with him was like $15K. And I was like, even when I paid the $15K, I'm like, this is for like one day. And I was like, even now, I was like, this is a little expensive. And now, like, and so I have another trading scheduled with him in December, and it's not $15K anymore. It's now $35K. Right. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And I'm like, but at the same time, like, it's worth every single penny, because it's like, it comes back to like, if he gives you one piece of information that causes you to avoid 1 or 2 painful mistakes that gives you back like a month or 2 of your time, like you're gonna get an ROI on the money, right? And it's a tax deductible, all that stuff. It's the trading cost. All those things are like very important to remember about business, is that like you want to be investing in places where you can get the right thing. Because like his advice that he gave me back in November doubled my business, right? So like, last year my business did like 1.2 million, like last year. This year we're going to easily do 2. We're probably going to be maybe even do like 2.5 this year. Right. And so like, and a lot of it came back to like just the very critical points that he gave me in November of like, okay, that's exactly what it is. And honestly is really very simple advice. So his thing in November was like, hey, Zach, like, so last year you did 4 cohorts. What would you need to do 8? And like, when he said that to me, my mind initially blew up, because I was like, die. Right? I would need to die, right? I would need to like freaking not be like, I would need to give up my entire life, right? In order to do that, right? Because when I'm running a cohort, I don't have a life. That's it. That's my life, is that. Yeah. Like I dedicate everything to that. It's that when working out and sleep. That's my whole life. And so and he made me really think more about like, okay, how can I develop better systems? How can I develop better things that allow me to not feel so much stress when I run a cohort, so that when I'm building it out, then like I the margins are hurt a little bit, because I have to like hire people and put people in places, but you should still make more money overall, because the revenue number is so much higher, right? So it's like your total gross profit is higher. And so like that was something that was like a big unlock for me. It was like, okay, I just need to offer more. It's like, because his big advice here, right, is you have but there's three things you can do. This also applies to content as well, right? So you have more, you have better, and you have new, right? And so I think a lot of creators, they actually lean too much into that new category, because they have that ADHD, like shiny object syndrome of like, oh yeah, I should just go and do this other brand new thing, right? But new should only be like 10%. It's like you think of it as like almost like an experimental offer, right? Whereas like the way I think about it is more should be like 60 to 70%. Better should be like 20%. You can think of those like upsells, or like ways that you can increase your ticket offer. Because it's like for my boot camps, right? I have an offer that's like $2,000, $3,000 that you can get in. But then if you want one-on-one mentorship with me, now it's $10,000, right? And then you can get like, because now you get like way more access to me, and like you're gonna get way more like advice, and way more like it's way more tailored, right, to you specifically. But yeah, I mean, I'd say that that's a big thing. Mentors, seek out mentors, and like just pay it. And like freaking, because if you're a creator, it's a tax deduction. Just pay the money, and just so you can find the mentors who need to give you the advice you need to scale your business. And just like, don't even think about it. I know it might be like, oh, it's $10,000. I mean, I'm paying $35,000 for 1 day of education, right? That's it. That's as much as a lot of people pay for their entire 4-year bachelor's degree, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And so it's interesting. Yeah, the world's getting really crazy.
Yeah. So I went through a similar experience recently where I paid different scale, $2,500 for being content creator, even though I've been a content creator for the past 3 years. And I found it so valuable that I wish I did it sooner. So like for other people out there, when they think of like a big investment for education or whatever they're doing, at which stage should they go in and invest that? Should they have like a certain income first that's bigger than the investment, or what criteria?
Well, I mean, I think this stuff is so interesting, especially for something like because you can get a lot of unlocks for like a mid to low 4-figure investment, something like 5K or less. And like, I don't know, like, the way I think about some of this stuff sometimes is like, I think people have this phobia about investing in education because of like student loans in college, because we were kind of lied to about college a little bit, about like, oh yeah, college is a really great investment, and like it'll make you better. And like, for a lot of people, it didn't work out, right? And like, and that's fine. And like I would say that like, because for some creators, like the unlock actually, like I would not want to say like, oh, you have to be monetizing before you invest in this stuff, because like I would say you have to have like traction. Like I would say if you have like 100 followers and it's like time to go invest in some fancy $5,000 course, might not be right. I would say, because like you got to know like whether or not being a creator is for you first. So my advice always is like, go make 100 pieces of content. Did you hate it after the 100th piece of content? Did you feel like you can go, once you make 100 pieces of content, do you think you can make another 1,000 pieces of content? And usually people will know. They'll know after 100 pieces of content whether or not they can make 1,000 pieces of content. And the answer for 99% of people is no, right? That's why 1% of people are creators. It's not for everybody. Even though like I hate that about being a creator, because it also has that that very low barrier to entry. It's anyone with a phone can be a creator. So it feels like that there isn't any. It's different from like, say, like being a doctor, right? Because with a doctor, it's like, oh, you want to be a doctor? All right, go to school for 15 years and then be a doctor, right? Yeah. But then with a creator, it seems like it's like anyone with a phone can film a 30-second video, go viral, and be famous, right? But that's not really how it works. Like, I love to think about like people like Mr. Beast, right? It's like Mr. Beast, he's like, I don't know, hasn't he been making YouTube videos for like 15 years now? Something like that. 15 years of like uploading every week or something like that, right? And all of his videos keep getting crazier and crazier, right? He's like, he keeps refining the craft and taking feedback. Whereas like, I think a lot of people think of that as like, oh, I just need my one viral moment and then I can like be a creator, which is, no, that's not how it is. Not how it is. So it's like, I'd say if you're looking to invest in education though, make content. Just put up the bad content. Just do it. Just post. See what happens, right? Put out what you think might work. Don't let 1 or 2 or 3 bad pieces of content interfere with your process. Learn from other people, like connect with other people, right? You can do all this for free. And there's also a lot of free resources on the internet. But then there is the act of paying is interesting. Because one of the things like for Hormozy, like when Hormozy told me like, why don't you just do more? Like I knew that. I knew that's a stupid math equation. I'm like, oh, I did 4 cohorts and made $1 million. If I did 8, I'd make 2. No shit. That's a very like that. Imagine paying $15,000 for like, double. And that was just the advice, is just do more work.
Yeah.
It's like, but the thing is like, and it's not about the advice there that is valuable. It's the fact that I paid, right? It's the fact that I paid and I am valuing the advice, and it makes the advice allow me to take action. Similar like when I do, I guess I teach a lot, right? I teach massive free courses and I do paid courses, right? So if someone takes my paid course and gives me $2,000, right? There's an 80% chance they finish it, right? If someone takes a free course, there is a 2% chance, 2% chance that they actually finish it, right? So it's like skin in the game and actually paying, the act of paying is like worth it. And then that's why it's very interesting how the world works, right? Because like that is what motivates you to take action and motivates you to change. So I would say that it's worth it, but you also got to be very careful because there's going to be a lot of content and people out there on the internet who are literally there looking to take your money and like aren't going to give you the value you're looking for. And there literally are courses that are not worth it, right? So I think it's one of those things that you got to be very judicious about too.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back a little bit to when you said the new,
More better new.
more better new thing. Would you say it's like a little different for someone who's just starting out when you're still trying to figure out what is your style, what type of niche are you?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you posted no piece of content, then like everything is new. Yeah. Like so, I think that like more better new. I would imagine that's going to be for once you have established your brand and you've established what is working and what is like kind of doing what is the flow that's actually getting you to where you want to go. I think that that's definitely a part of it is so like you definitely want to experiment a lot in those early stages, right? Where it's similar to like, imagine like you're you're like 18 again, right? And then you're like in college and then they're like, what do you want to major in? And you're like, I don't know, art, history, computer science. I don't know. A lot of people don't know when they're 18. They dabble in like 4 or 5 different things. And then they're like, okay, I like that thing. And then that's what kind of goes in that direction. When you make content, it's similar, right? Where it's like, oh, do I want to make talking head? Do I want to make like faceless? Do I want to make like tip videos? And sometimes you want to vary it, but like at the end of the day, like for me, I do my content is very consistent. I'm like me talking in front of a camera, talking head, 90-second clip, educational. Here you go. Right? That's like, and I have a very consistent look and feel that like I like and like that flow too. But other people are going to be more varied. Like, and then that's why being a creator is so awesome is that you can try new things, right? And that's like, especially like if you're earlier on and you haven't like majored in anything yet, then like, yeah, just try, like literally have fun with it. Like have fun with it and see what you like, try to make your, like, I love like, try to like in every clip, I try to like drop in a little thing that will make someone laugh. Right. I remember like I did like 4 reasons why data engineering is better than data science. This is like one of my most viral YouTube shorts. And I had like 3 reasons that way, like data engineering doesn't require a master's degree and like very like reasonable ones. And then the 4th one was data engineers are just sexier than data scientists, right? And that was like, that was the last one. And then like, and you get so many people to comment and laugh. And it's just like, you can kind of like, you make it more like edutaining, right? Because that's the, if you look at like Duolingo, Duolingo is the highest market cap education company in the world. And they don't even really educate people. They just have games, right? It's like, I mean, they're not even a great way to learn a language. They really aren't that great. Like if you're trying to use it to like learn Mandarin or use it to learn like another language, it's not that great. Even if you have a 1,000-day streak, you might be a little bit more fluent, but like you really need to be speaking conversations and stuff like that. But like, why are they effective and why do people like Duolingo? Is because it's fun. And like if you can make your content fun and entertain or fun and educational, that's like the sweet spot.
Yeah, well, you have over 1.2 million of followers across all platforms. And talking head actually doesn't work for most people, in my opinion, from when I talk to people, especially when you double in like educational content, something that's like dry, like data engineer could be. So what do you think makes your videos so successful, entertaining?
That's a good one. I think a part of that is because I got success on short form text first. So like I got to like 500,000 or 600K between like LinkedIn and like Twitter and Substack first. That was like my like first place I really like crushed it. And I think that helped me a lot because it's like I feel like my shorts, like my YouTube and or my Instagram and TikToks are just like, it's almost like me reading a LinkedIn post. It's very similar to that. But like I think that's one piece of it. I think another piece of it is that like people like, here, I'll give you an example. They will start their videos like, "Hi guys, like I'm Maggie. I'm a data scientist at this company." They're gone. Bye. Right? It's like they're gone because remember, you have freaking 3 seconds to get someone's attention, right? So, and it's like if you're starting your video with an introduction, they're gone. Bye. Like if you look at my videos, I have literally in 0 of my videos, I've been like, "Hi, I'm Zach. I worked at these companies." They don't care. People don't care. They want the value. They want the value, right? You can say that like so. What I like to think of is people do their talking head videos upside down, where it's like you can do the introduction, but you do it after you give someone value, right? So the value needs to be at the beginning, right? It needs to be right at the beginning, right? People don't really give a shit who you are. They don't care, right? They care about what value you can bring to them. And I think that's why people like really get the talking head stuff wrong, because they also understand that like, and this is where creators, it's a tricky space because you also want people to know who you are, like who you are as a person, to be personable. You don't just want to be like I'm a data engineering encyclopedia, right? Hello, I am a robot, right? Like I don't want to be that either. That's also bad, right? That's like, because then like people don't trust that. People don't trust an encyclopedia, right? They trust a person. So what I like to do is that's the outro of the video, right? Where it's like at the end, like the last 5 to 10 seconds of the clip, that's where you can talk more about like who you are, what's going on. Because then if they made it that far into the clip, they've already got so much value that like now they give a shit who you are. Now they care, right? Because like you have already given them something.
That is so interesting. Okay, have you ever come across posts from Harper Carroll?
Yeah.
Or the way that she does it was she had like a super long intro, well, after a hook, and then she has a super long intro for credentials,
Yeah.
credibility, and then very long value after that, which I also thought was the opposite of what you should do.
Yeah.
But you've seen like incredible success with hers.
Yeah, yeah. I
Like,
mean, and it all depends on how you want to brand yourself, and like also like it depends on what names you're gonna drop there, right? All that stuff matters, right? Like it's like, yeah, if you want to like, I know it's something I ebb and flow about, because it's like it comes back to like it's similar to the LinkedIn vibe of like, should I put X Netflix, X Facebook, X Airbnb in my profile? Should I do that? No, I don't. I mean, I could do that, and would it help? It maybe help a little bit, but like I don't know. It comes back to like how you want to present yourself as well, right? It's like, what do you want your brand to be known for, right? And it's like I essentially want to be known for like, this guy is very educational, like, and it's like I get that you can do brand positioning like that, and it's like I don't think of Harper as like that's why she's successful in her clips. It just comes back to like I think that she's successful just because like AI is just really hot. AI is a very hot space, right? And you can freaking have a lot of people who are in that space. It's one of those things that is very interesting to me, because it's like I ebb and flow about that specifically, because I'm like, should I freaking just quit teaching data engineering and only teach AI? Should I just do that? And part of me thinks yes. Part of me thinks yes. That's exactly what I should do. I actually own AIexpert.io as well, right?
that must have been more expensive.
25 grand. That was 25 grand, right? Yeah, it's been insane. And so I have I have that domain as well. And it's like, because AI is just so hot right now. And that's like, it's insane. And it's like one of those things where I'm like, do I just jump on that bandwagon? Even though I know that like over time it's gonna kind of flatten. People don't believe that. They think that it's just gonna keep going up and up and up and up and up. And it's not. It's not gonna do that. People think it follows an exponential curve when it actually follows a logistic curve. And so like, like we might be in, I think right now we're kind of in that, we're right at the point between where it goes from exponential to logarithmic, right at that kind of like inflection point.
Mhm.
And I think we saw that with like, with GPT-5 and everything. It's kind of like underwhelming a little bit. They're like GPT-4, oh, GPT-5, oh, it's like this much better, right? And it's like, okay, great, awesome. But like, is it AGI? No, it's definitely not. Yeah, it's freaking crazy. Content's wild.
Yeah. And something you mentioned earlier that was very interesting as well was you said like 1% of people should be creators, not everybody should be.
Yeah.
And now being a creator and entrepreneur yourself, what do you think is the biggest misconception about being a creator, and how should people identify like whether that's for them or not?
Yeah. I think one of the things that separates like people who are creators, or who should be creators and not, is like how good are they at storytelling? Like it's like, and part of that is a skill, part of it is inherent. I think it's both. Like it's like because you can be good like at storytelling, but like you might not enjoy it, right? And you have to really have both to be a good creator. You have to be a good storyteller and enjoy storytelling, because the demands to be a creator are insane. Because it's like, really, yeah, it's like the way you got to be thinking about it is like, I have posted on LinkedIn every single day for 5 years, right? And it's like, okay, that's a lot. It's like thousands and thousands of pieces of content. And it's like some people are like, I know a very common question I get asked is like, Zach, how do you come up with what to say? And it's like, well, if that's your question, right? And that might be a sign that like being a creator is not for you, right? It's like that, like if you have a very hard time like coming up with what to say next and what is that's a skill that like obviously things are getting different with like where you can, and that's where I think AI is going to make it so that like a couple more percent of people can be a creator, because like I think there are people who have creative capacity, but they don't have that like there's like a cold start problem, right? The cold start problem being like, when you're a writer and you're looking at a blank page, and you're like, I have no idea what to say.
Mhm.
I could say literally anything, and it's like there's no constraints, right? And so like, and that's where AI is pretty great, because with AI you can be like, give me 5 things to talk about in data engineering, or give me 5 things to talk about in AI, and then it gives you like a prompt, a little bit, a sentence or two that you can like kind of pull from, and then you can kind of like now you have a little bit of a constraint in the box. So it's kind of like the difference between like how many people can color in a coloring book versus how many people can paint the Mona Lisa,
Mhm.
right? Number of people with color in a coloring book is almost everybody, right? But because it's like there's constraints. There's constraints around. There's like, okay, color this. Green is 3 and red is 1, right? And then you color something beautiful that way. But you still have your own style, right? Because even in a coloring book, when you color, right, how deep you put the red in, and like how you shade it, it will look different than like anyone else. You have your unique style even in within those constraints. And I think that's the big difference is like, and I think that's why content creation, 5-10 years ago was even less accessible, because the only people who could do it back then were people who could handle the blank page, who could handle the blank page of like, do whatever the hell you want, right? And that is the I don't know, like that's the big thing that I think like is different, and is like dealing with that blank page every day. And I mean, it's one of the things that I deal with a lot, is like, because I'm like, damn, like I think about this journey a lot, and I'm like, did I sign up for making a LinkedIn post every day until the day I die? Like, seems like a lot. I know sometimes I think about that and I get a little depressed. Right? I'm like, because I'm like, am I gonna have to post like another like 20,000 times? Like that's a lot of posts, dude. That's a lot of posts. And so I like, so I lean into AI now, even for myself, because I feel like there's that cold start blank page problem, and I like to use it to get myself more structure, so that I can like have a more clean ability to know what to say and to do research. You can do research so fast with AI. So fast. It's amazing. It's amazing. The future is bright. But like I'd say that's the big thing, and like is that consistency of like, it's like if another way to think about like, if you're a creator, if you're someone who can consistently go to the gym every day or 5 days a week, like you're more likely to be successful as a creator, right? If you're someone who eats regularly healthy food, also more likely that you would have success as a creator, because it's like it comes back to like, are you able to establish and drill habits, right? And you got to make it so that content creation is like second nature. It shouldn't it shouldn't feel like, that feeling like when you go to the gym for the first time after not going to the gym, and you're like, that was awful. That was a lot. That was a lot.
Mhm.
And I think that's how a lot of people initially, when they start content, that's how they feel. They feel like they make their post, and like they feel so creatively drained from it. They're like, that was a lot. But it's like if you get into the habit of doing it every day, then like you aren't attached to it as much anymore. You're like, oh, sometimes I'll make a LinkedIn post and like it doesn't do well, and I'm like, tough crowd. But I'm like, I don't. I used to make it about me. I used to make it about me, and I'm like, dude, it's my content. I suck, and I'm like, nowadays I blame the audience, which
So you first started posting on LinkedIn before you quit your job, like way before you quit your job,
way before.
when LinkedIn wasn't even what it is today. It was like, oh, hey, look, I got this job kind of thing. Um, so why did you start and what kept you going?
I mean, so this is woman on LinkedIn named Shay Rowbottom. She has a very interesting story where she was like a waitress, right? And then she started posting on LinkedIn in like 2018, 2019,
Mhm.
about video marketing, right? And then her journey was like waitress to like making like $5 million a year in like 2 or 3 years. And I saw that and I was like, what? I'm like, what am I doing in big tech? I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I feel freaking dumb. But like, I saw that and I was like, okay, like I freaking need to be like in that space, right? I need to be like, I saw like she gave me permission to like start creating because I was like, well, I got to do something here. Got to talk about what I know and talk about that kind of stuff. I started in like December 2020, and I feel like there was two. It was like Shay and seeing her success as an entrepreneur, and I just saw 5 million people talking about data science. There were so many people talking about data science, and then I was like, where's the data pipeline guy? Literally no one is talking about data pipeline. Literally 0 people were talking about it, and I was like, okay, I'll talk about data pipeline and see what happens, right? And now it's so weird because I made that decision like 5 years ago, and now it's like I'm the most followed data engineer voice on LinkedIn. Like it's like I found the missing like the like the need. There was a need in the market there that was unmet because there was no creator in that space, and there's still, it's so interesting because like data engineering is still, we need more. We need more. Like I think about that a lot because like if you look on LinkedIn, you look for like people who are pure data engineering creators. I'm not talking like data engineering, AI, data science. There's some people who are trying to be like that generic blend of all three. We're talking about like the pure data engineering, data modeling creators. Those guys. There's like 6 creators on LinkedIn who have over 100K. 6. And it's like, and it's like, it's such an unmet need, right? And so like, even now, and like, especially even going into the future, my perspective is there really should be like 50. It should be like 50 creators in that space who are teaching data engineering, like pure data engineering. And like, it's very interesting. So interesting that like, it's so difficult, right? It's so difficult because it's like, it's one of those things that does require so many reps and so much just like putting your voice out there and making content and building a brand. And it's like, where does this go, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. And you made an interesting decision when you started your bootcamp on data engineering, where I think you're focusing more on experienced data engineers as opposed to beginners
Yeah,
that most
100%.
bootcamps focus on. Why is that?
I mean, it's a good question. I feel like 2 reasons. Because one is like when you do a coding bootcamp targeted at beginners, a lot of those people don't have money, right? So it's like for them, it's like they are literally like taking debt. They're taking debt to do it. If you focus on experience, so when you're building your product, you always got to be thinking about who is the number one like person you're trying to target. So for me, when I was making my bootcamp, I was 29, right? And I was thinking, I want my ideal customer is 23 years old. He works at Facebook, right? And he has like 2 years of experience or 3 years of experience, and he really wants to be a senior engineer. And he has a learning budget because Facebook has a learning budget. They give engineers $2,000 a year to go and learn stuff, right? And I was like, okay, I will charge $2,000 then, right? And so like, because at the end of the day, like if I'm charging Facebook, the company that makes like $20 billion a year, $2,000, and the engineer doesn't have a good experience, I don't care. I honestly don't care. No one is getting scammed. No one is getting ripped off. There's no one here who is suffering. All right. No one is suffering. All right. Because like Facebook already wastes so much money on other things anyways. You know how much they wasted on the metaverse?
Oh, it could still be a thing.
Yeah, right. And so what I'm saying though is that like why I targeted experienced engineers is it comes back to like, I feel like beginner boot camps should be free. And that's why I have a beginner bootcamp. Learn.dataexpert.io. Join my beginner bootcamp. It's free. And beginner bootcamps, if you have no experience, usually you have no money. If you have no money, that means you're going to fund your education with debt. And if you fund your education with debt and I can't deliver, then you're going to have a bad experience and you're going to feel like you got scammed, right? And guess what? The job market right now is shit. It's bad, right? And so like I can't promise you a job, honestly. And any bootcamp that says they can, they're kind of lying to you. Like because the market has more to it than just what skills you know. It's also who you know and how you network and how you brand yourself. And all of those things matter so much as well. So that like just like promising a job is a very interesting, difficult thing. And so like I feel like that's why I target experienced engineers. I try to target guys who already have a job because it's like I want you guys to become leaders. And there's another reason for that is like like those people have money. I can charge them more. I can freaking and then I can build a pipeline for that, right? Of like the beginner bootcamp where it's like I can get a massive amount of brand value by like stomping on the beginner bootcamps, the breaking into data engineering bootcamps that people are paying $5K, $8K for it. I'm like, no, we'll just do it for free. And we'll deliver that. And then when those people break in, they have so much they're like they are indebted
They're
to me.
indebted.
And so eventually they'll be like, all right, I'm gonna join your boot camp now. And it's like it's playing a very long game, right? It's playing a game that manifests over 5 to 10 years, as opposed to trying to make all the money right now, right? And like and it's done in such a way where like I really try to minimize the perception of like being a scammy boot camp, right? Because that's the definitely the thing that is tricky. And I mean, even now, like one of the things is like I let anyone sign up for my boot camp, whoever wants to sign up. And even though I tell them I'm like, this is not a beginner boot camp, and then some people sign up and they have no experience and they're like, Zach, that was too hard. I'm like, no shit. Like I'm like, read, please read. I want to do. I'm working on this on my platform right now, like building out a way to do like a skill assessment. So I'm like, okay, yes, you have the prerequisites, or no, you don't have the prerequisites. So like people will know if they can fit, because I get asked that question every single freaking day of my life, anyways. So that I can just direct them to a quiz, so then they can know. And so, but yeah, definitely, I would say that's the main reason why I target experienced people, is that like those are the people who have money to pay versus like like because so many people, and I think that this is one of the things that's shifting in the education market a lot, is people are recognizing that like college is kind of scammed people a little bit, because it's like now colleges are asking for freaking 5 figures, sometimes even 6 figures for freaking to pay, right? And it's like, and then like you see these Stanford grads who have freaking 8% unemployment, which is like higher than the average in the whole country, right? Because they just like there's no jobs for them, right? And it's like crazy. It's crazy to see, because it's like, imagine you did that. Like you were someone who paid like $150,000 for your schooling, and then like you graduate and you're told you just graduated from the best university in the world and you can't find a job, right? And that's like the reality for people right now, which is crazy to me. It's so crazy. Like,
Yeah, I saw something like that a couple weeks ago actually in the news. Someone was a Stanford grad CS. Now all these CS people graduating, being promised something that's just not there in the market right now. Um, you are building a long game, 5 to 10 years. Do you still want to do this in 5 to 10 years? Like, what is your end goal?
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I see my job changing. It's definitely going to shift a lot here, and I'm noticing that right now, is that like I'm going to be shifting significantly from like being a direct educator. I am getting burnt the hell out on like teaching data engineering. Like, do you know Grace Ling? Well, she's like so she and I are like we have a very, very similar like life paths. It's so crazy, because like, so she has a very, very similar business to me, except she teaches design, like, and it's very similar cohort based thing. And she's like, I had a conversation with her the other day. She's like, Zach, am I just going to be teaching like how to get your first design job for the rest of my life? And I'm like, well, if you want to, you can. And what I told her was like, well, if you want to make like millions of dollars, then the answer is yeah. And but like at the same time, there's this like creator thing where it's like, if you just repeat yourself over and over and over and over and over again, like the ADHD gets to you eventually, where you're like, I've already said this. I've said this so many times. Even though the student loves it, because the student has not heard it, right? The student, for them, it's fresh. But for you, it's not fresh, because you've already repeated yourself so many times. And so, like, I mean, at the end of the day, though, it's like I view like the way that I teach as like the future of education in some ways, because I also believe that professors are getting scammed from universities as well. Like for example, like let's say UCLA or UCLA. So they charge $5,000 for 4 credits, right? And those 4 credits are for one class, right?
Yeah.
And then in one class they usually have about 200 students, right? So 200 students times 5K, that's like $1 million, right? And so that's what they charge the students. And then the professor delivers that class. The professor is going to take probably like 150K, maybe. So the professor gets 15% of the value that they bring in, essentially 15% of the value that the students pay, right? Which is a bad deal. It's a bad deal, right? At the end of the day, it's like, because it's like if those professors had their own sales funnel, that's the way I think about it for me, right? Is like the only difference between me and a professor is the fact that like I have the sales funnel and I own the sales funnel. And so instead of making 200K, I make 2 million, because like I don't have to take the 90% cut, because the educational institution takes everything. Because it's like, here's the thing to be thinking about. That 85% that UCLA, or I'm not trying to single them out, but any university, I saw a study, I saw this physics professor like manifesto about this scam that it was happening, and he's like, dude, like freaking, they're, because okay, what value are they providing with that other 85%? Like like who is getting paid with that, right? And what is going on with that, right? It's like, because one, it's either they're ripping students off, right, which is definitely happening, right, and they're also ripping professors off, right, which is also happening, right, and they're getting in the way of education, right? That's definitely true, and they're taking 90%. Right. And so like, and it's like, and who's it going to? Administrators, the freaking endowment funds, like it's very sketchy, right? And it's not how it works in other countries. It's not how it works in other countries. That's why, like, if you think about it, like we could, right? If you think about it this way, it's like those professors are happy freaking making 150K, right? So imagine what we could do instead is we could be like, hey, oh, instead of $5,000 a credit or $5,000 for 4 credits, it's $700, right? And then instead of 10% going to the professor, 90% goes to the professor, and then 10% goes to administration. And then guess what? Now we don't have a student debt problem. Right? It's very interesting how we design society, right? And how things, and who controls the sale controls everything, right? And it's so nasty. I don't like that about how capitalism works, but it's just the nature.
Sounds like the next big business idea is to build a sales funnel for professors and set them free.
Exactly. That's what have you heard of Maven?
Yes.
Yeah, so Maven, I feel like that's what Maven is doing, right? And that's what I'm trying to do as well, by the way. Tech Creator, my platform, I'm going to be a direct competitor with Maven. It's going to be so sick. And but like that's what they're trying to do, is like essentially enable education at a lower cost.
Yeah.
And that, it's pretty dope.
I think I want to go back to your LinkedIn or posting a little bit more. You have a very interesting, I think, business model where you have your social media, your content creator, but you also have your business and bootcamp. How does your revenue like work exactly? What brings in the funnel for what?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so you got to be funnels are great. If you start thinking about, like, the sooner you start thinking about funnels as a creator, the sooner you start making money. Like 100%. That's just that it is that simple. So like, and remember that, like, one very important data point to remember is how many touch points, I'm going to ask you, Maggie, how many touch points do you think it is required from a customer in order to buy from you? How many times do they have to interact with your content before they're down to buy with you? Yeah, you're about right. It's like 7 to 10, right? And so a lot of times, like, so there's two ways that you can pull that off to hit that 7 to 10 mark. One way to do it is you just produce banger after banger after banger on social media and keep going viral so that you consistently show up in their feed. Because even if they follow you, you might not show up in the feed because the algorithm giveth and it taketh away. Right. And I hate that about the algorithms, is it giveth and taketh away. And so there's no consistent, like, there's no guarantee that they are going to see your content. Right. No guarantee. So the 7 to 10, no guarantee. So how can you guarantee it? Like, what would you have any thoughts on that? Email is great. And you know, it's also a good one. SMS. Have you ever been texted by a creator?
Such a new thing. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I text some people right now, and it's like okay. One of the things that's so beautiful is like, so the click-through rates are so different too. So when I send someone an email, the click-through rate is like 5%, right? Which is honestly amazing, by the way. I love my 5% click-through rate. But like, if you send someone a text and you have a link in the text, click-through rate's like 20%, like 15 to 20%. Like, you get way better engagement there, right? You also have to be very careful and all more mindful. You can't just be spamming the shit out of people's SMS, right? That's one of those things where it's like, even like a monthly thing could be too much, right? You want to be very, very, very mindful with that, unless it's like a, transactional things. Like in my bootcamp, right, I allow people to have SMS reminders for when the next class is, and SMS, like, it's very like and people who have SMS reminders on are way more likely to finish the cohort, way more likely to actually do these things. Because one of the things that's beautiful about SMS versus email, all these other things, is like, SMS is usually one of the few channels that people still have on their phone. Because most people nowadays have notifications turned off for the most part. I do. I know, like, for me, it's like I have iMessage, WhatsApp, and the phone app, like the green phone button. And that's it. Everything else, every other notification on my phone is silenced, because like I would be on my phone, like, I notice this, like, the notifications on this, like, interesting addictive loop to them, right? So anyways, back to funnels. So I guess I freaking went on a massive tangent there. So you're right. So you want to get to that second place. So it's like, the sooner you acquire a contact point from someone beyond their social media, right? Whether it be an email or an SMS, like a phone number or an email, like, you need to get one of those as quickly as possible, right? And so that generally means that you want to be able to get people to move from your short form content to a newsletter landing page, optimize the shit out of that. It's the lifeblood of your business, right? Then you are in that middle tier. And then what you want to do is your newsletter content has to be banger. You should be spending more time there, right? And it should be more valuable and more interesting than even your short form content. Because then people will be like, wow, because that's where you really build and garner trust. Because it's like, if you can take that 7 to 10 contacts and you can drop it a little bit to like make it 4 to 6 by delivering more value. This is what Alex Zhu. He's the Byte Go system design guy. Byte Go system. He's my hero. He's one of my. He lives here in the Bay, by the way. He's great. I meet him like every quarter or so. I see him like 3 or 4 times a year, and every time I talk with him, I leave so inspired because that man is writing like 6 books a year right now. It's unbelievable. I'm like, dude, how do you do that? Like, it's insane. And I'm not talking like 100-page books. Like his books are like this. They're like a freaking brick. Right. And so, but anyways, that's what he does with his newsletter is he delivers just an unbelievable amount of content to his people. And he's like, wow, it's so different and so valuable and so hard to get anywhere else. And so that is what then causes people to then you can hit them with another page where you can get another and that's where you hit that bottom of the funnel where you can get them to buy something that's like 4 figures or 5 figures because now you have like nurtured that lead so much that they like and you give because remember like another very important rule in business is it's give take. All right, so you should be giving value 8 to 10 times for free for just because, right? And then you can have an ask, right? And it's like because a lot of people think like marketing, right, is they're like marketing is like you post a flyer that says, hey, buy my shit, and that's like literally the worst form of marketing because then like you're just starting with take. And it's like and if you're starting with take, like that's you might get 1 or 2 people, but those people are going to be people who you gave to at some point in the past. Maybe they were your best friend for 20 years and they buy from you because like of that. But that's like generally speaking bad marketing, all right? And so like that's the funnel. That's the way I think about it. But another thing to think about is there's more to this funnel that a lot of people forget about because they think of it as like a triangle and then it like gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it definitely does, right? But like a way to think about it is like I've had about like 3,000 people go through my boot camp, right? And I have like 1.2 million followers. So it's a very small percentage, right? It's like 1.5% of people who have like, follow me on social media have like given me more than $1,000, right? And that's generally speaking, another rule to think about is that 1% of your followers are customers. So like if you have an offer, right? If you have it's a good way to size your audience, right? So say you have 100,000 followers, right? So that means you have 1,000 customers, right? So if you have an offer that's $1,000, 1,000 times 1,000, you have $1 million, right? And so it's just the nature of converting those people, and that might take a year. It might take 2 years of marketing to actually get those people to convert over because it's like remember this that 7 to 10 damn contact points of like actually getting people to like absorb the content, and that it takes time. It just takes time and energy and effort. But like so the way I think about it for my business, right, is like okay, so I have like about 10,000 potential customers, right? And like so there's 2 ways to go about it, right? You can either keep getting more followers, right? That's one way to do it, or you can raise prices. That's the other way to do it, or ideally you do both at the same time, right? And that's how that's how you grow kind of multidimensionally, right? Because then you get more on that the volume side, but then your average spend per customer also goes up. And if you do both of those things together, then it'd be great because it's like then it's like if you have 10,000 customers at $1,000, that's 10 mil, right? But then okay, just raise it to 2K or 3K. No, that's like 30 mil, right? And then it's like at that point, like if you can charge 3,000, like I like to think of it as like okay, I'm just selling MacBook Pros at this point, and I just need 10,000 people to buy a $3,000 MacBook Pro, right? And then I don't have to work anymore for the rest of my life, right? And then that's enough money for me. And there's like, and I know that like, even if I don't grow anymore, even if I don't try to push more on like the brand marketing and pushing there, and I kind of slow down on the brand marketing and I focus just on nurturing the leads I already have, I'm sitting on at least $10 million, if not like 20 or $30 million. And so that's the way to be thinking about like, as you're growing your audience and growing your brand, like really that's why I really think it's very important to figure out a 4-figure offer. Because like a lot of people, I think a lot of creators who are selling a course, they really think like, "Ah, I need to sell my course at $100, right? And it's like, okay, if you sell a course at $100, right? Like a lot of y'all have 100,000 followers, right? If you have 100,000 followers, that means you have 1,000 buyers, and that means you have 100K. Okay, great. And I mean, I'm not trying to say that that's no money, or I'm not saying that that's like generational wealth, and I'm not trying to say, and that's enough money to like supplement. It's enough money to like essentially remove 1 year of salary, right? 1 year of salary, and it's like, okay, what you have effectively done is you've replaced your income. Okay, great. But you have not grown your income. And I feel like most people, most creators, that's the dream. Like you're not going to like quit your job, make content every single day of your life to make the same as you did as a data analyst. Like, because guess what? Being a data analyst is a very chill job. It's a very chill job. It's more chill than being a creator. For sure. It's
For
way
sure.
more chill than being a creator. And so like it's like you gotta be making more. And so that's where it's like I and for me, the thing that I'm struggling with, right, that I want to do, right, is I'm trying to figure out really how to get a 5-figure offer. Because I feel like because 5-figure is even better. I feel like 5-figure is really where you get the sweet spot. Because then it's like you just need 100 people. Because if you get 100 people at 10 grand, that's $1 million. Just 100 people. That's like, so that means that you only need to make like, it's like, what is that like? It's like 10 sales a month, or not even 10 sales a month. You make 8 sales a month, like 9 sales a month, and then you make $1 million, right? And so it's like, but you have to have the right offer to deliver that. And like, you have to have the brand positioning and offer to be able to like charge $10,000. But that is like ideal. Cause then it's like, then that's what Hormozy does, right? Cause that's why he's like, oh, is like 15K, no, 35K. And that's why I'm like, damn, Rosie, like freaking I'm over here insecure about charging 10 grand. And then you're like, no, I'm tripling prices. And I'm like, geez, that's a lot. It's a lot. And so like, but like he knows what value he's providing, right? And that's the other thing to remember is like, a lot of the stuff comes back to like, you don't want to be thinking about price. Price is super not important. This is something that I think a lot of people like creators get wrong is they're like, oh no, like what is this price that like, is this a bargain? Is this like, or am I providing the value? This is like, you want to be thinking about like, what is the value I'm providing on the other side, right? Because it's like, for example, people who've taken my bootcamp, so I have a student, Hitesh, right? He took my bootcamp 6 months ago. He is now making 6 times the money he was making before the bootcamp. Six
So
times,
amazing.
right? And I think about that though, and I'm like, dude, I charged him $1,800, and I'm like, that was low. That was honestly low. I probably should have charged him more, right? But like at the same time, like I'm happy for him. But it's like that's why you need to price things accordingly to the probability of the outcome that you would expect, right? And that's where like it's very interesting, right? But then obviously it's a trade because then it's like I can charge 10K and then someone might not get that transformation. And then you got to be careful because like there's going to be a chance. Obviously, there's always going to be a chance that that's going to happen.
Mhm.
But at the same time, the people who pay $10,000 are also going to be the most dedicated freaking people, right? Because they're bought in, right? They're bought in. And so like it's an interesting trade. So I don't know, like definitely price things right. Charge more, double your prices right now.
It's been such an informational, insightful conversation.
Yeah.
I would love to keep talking, but we do have to wrap it up. And I would love to give our audience the most value possible while we're talking about, putting out your funnels, putting out your product. So for someone who maybe is at the beginning stage of all of this, when they're trying to price things, trying to build out their product, trying to build out their marketing funnel, in what order or how should they organize things in the first, let's say, 1 to 3 months?
Yeah, like from starting out as a creator. So like if you're very starting out, like and you have no top of funnel, just focus on the platforms. Focus on making videos. Focus on making posts. I personally like LinkedIn and Twitter better because I find that writing a paragraph is way less effort than filming a video. I find it way less because there's no editing. There's no like, I guess there is editing, but you're editing the words. You're not editing like, oh, like does my face look ugly? Like is the lighting right? Like there's a lot of things in video that are like just way more taxing. And I think that that's one of the things that a lot of people get stuck in their head that like a creator is only someone if you make a TikTok video or you make a YouTube video that you're a creator. But there's a lot of creators out there who don't make video at all. They only write. And honestly, for me, 90% of my income still comes from writing. Right? Only 10% comes from Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Like most of it comes from LinkedIn, Twitter, Substack. And so, but like first 3 months, start a newsletter. Definitely do that sooner rather than later because like you need to get better at writing long form content. Long form content is super important. Then dabble with a couple different art forms, like to understand, like, are you a short form person? Are you a long form person? Maybe you like doing like 10-minute, 20-minute YouTube videos. And if that's you, that's great because that's harder to do. But it could mean that that's actually where you can excel, right? Or maybe you're very good at breaking down concepts in 90-second videos. And that's something that you can like test out. I'd say that like definitely start those things. I would say other things to think about is like definitely monetize sooner than later. Like for example, my newsletter. This is an interesting hack that you guys can take, right? So my newsletter is all the articles are free, right? I actually don't have paid articles at all, but I make $75,000 a year for my newsletter, and I don't have paid articles, right? So how does that work, right? So Substack is a very interesting place. So all the newsletters are free, but if you want to access any newsletters that are more than 2 months old, so you want to access the archive, that's paid. But if you subbed from day one, then you have all of them, right? You have all of them, and you don't need to pay, right? Because you were my very first supporter, and you never have to pay because you have access to everything, right? Because you already got every single email. But like for the people that like the later subs, right? If they want to access old newsletters, they have to pay. And that's when that converts, right? And it's very interesting to me because I'm like, dude, I'm just writing and I'm getting money. And some people just want to give you money. Some people honestly just want to give you money. And that's another thing to remember is that like if you're producing a lot of free value, people are down to give you $10 a month. They're down. I mean, I have almost 1,000 people who give me $10 a month just for writing about data engineering. And so because they want to support that, they want to encourage you to keep doing it, right? They're like because they know that you're providing value to the community. So keep providing value. Remember, like when you do, and don't be perfectionistic. Don't be perfectionistic about all the stuff. Do not be judgmental of yourself. Like remember that perfect is the enemy of great. Perfect is the enemy of great, and that like if you are. I think a lot of creators who are early on, they have this expectation where they're like, if I don't make the Mona Lisa on my first try, then I'm awful at this. I'm terrible. Right. And it's like, no, you're not terrible. You're learning. Right. And you're in the beginning stages. And that like, as you grow and as you create more content, you will get more confident and you will get to a point where you're like, wow, I am actually pretty good at this stuff. And one other big important piece I would say is, if you have the means to do so, hire a video editor as soon as possible. Do not do your own edits. I haven't been doing I did my own edits for like 2 years. Gigantic waste of time. You can hire someone in India who will do a better job and they charge like $20 a video or $30 a video. And then it's like freaking, then you save all of that time back. Like, because I mean, unless you value your time at $15 an hour, if you value your time at $15 an hour, and some creators, that might be where you're at and that's fine. Right. But like, I think for a lot of creators, they value their time above $15 an hour. And it's like, because for me, I'd say the average short form video takes me somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour to really like nail down the edits on, right? And it's the process that I don't enjoy at all. I enjoy it 0%. So like I'd say those are the big things, right? Come up with systems. So at the end of the day, another quote for you guys. You do not rise to your level of ambition. You fall to your level of systems, right? It's a very important quote, right? It's like you might want to make $1 billion. You're not going to make $1 billion unless you build a system that gets you to $1 billion, right? And so like, and that's the key thing to remember as you're growing is like, you might want that amazing, beautiful life, but you need to be doing the work behind the scenes and building the systems behind the scenes to get you there. And if you don't do that, like you're not going to get there because you fall to your level of systems. So that's what I would say as like the way to start out.
I love that. Thank you for sharing our insights and wisdom with us.
Yeah, for sure. That was great. Love being here.